Forcibly brought into the cult of Sataki, the charismatic bandit chief Orted becomes their prophet and leader. Seizing upon his newfound worldly and supernatural powers, he uses the cult as a vehicle to take control of several city-states and initiate the Dark Crusade to bring everyone under the watchful authority of the cult or be annihilated. Some of the southern kingdoms refuse this invitation and even mount an effective defense against the large but untrained hordes at Orted's command. Enter the mystic swordsman, Kane. Fleeing from the southern kingdoms because of a failed attempt to gain greater authority among one of them, Kane senses an opportunity. Orted's cult may have the manpower and motivation, but they need training, discipline, and a functioning cavalry to meet their enemies or face another disastrous setback. The mystic swordsman and the cult leader form an uneasy alliance to achieve victory against their enemies, but each knows the time will come when only one of them can truly be in charge. As their fortunes hang in the balance, broken but not vanquished foes and vengeful servants make their own plans, knowing the moment to strike will soon be upon them. The real question is, will anyone be ready to make the first move before the cult's prophesied time of judgment comes upon them all? Dark Crusade is the weakest of the Kane novels by Karl Edward Wagner. Its general shape and plot beats feel like a dry run for Darkness Weaves. It has all the faults of that novel, but almost none of the strengths, like memorable characters or a deeper, more developed element of eldritch horror. I'll have a link to some of my reviews of other Kane novels in the description. Its lack of interesting, detailed characters is what keeps this novel from developing into a compelling story. I think it was Tim at Secret Fire Books who describes Kane as not even an anti-hero, just a bad dude. As such, Kane needs other strong characters to bounce off and be in conflict with, and this book doesn't provide that, leaving the reader really no one to root for. Orted has no real personality beyond being a fanatic and a firebrand. Jarvo is tenacious, but he in no way represents a real challenge to Kane. More often, he comes across as a pathetic dope who is easily led astray by his own ego and fantasies. Esketra has hints of being a deeper, manipulative character, but she's barely on the page or involved with the plot in any meaningful way. Errol also makes some interesting choices, but for the most part she just tags along with other characters like a temporary sidekick. What we end up with is a story of all villains waiting for the best opportunity to betray and murder one another. If you enjoy your fantasy stories grimdark and bleak without any variation in the atmosphere, you may get more out of this story than I did. There are a few large-scale battle scenes, but they are described mostly at a distance. They end up reading more like recitations of troop movements in the 30 Years' War than the savage fantasy carnage Wagner provides in his other stories and novels. For the most part, it all seemed too dry and remote, like something from a history textbook rather than a dark sword and sorcery novel. The depiction of living in the promised paradise of the Sataki cult carries all the hallmarks of a paranoid police state, which is interesting because it is a development uncommon in fantasy fiction. Of course, reading about living under the tyranny of a vain sociopath who stirs up the masses with hateful rhetoric and promises of salvation through his cult of personality may not be the escape readers are looking for. especially since no worthwhile alternatives are presented within the story. I'll also say the final chapter with its montage of psychedelic violence as Kane jumps from one brutal encounter to another is a wild sequence. Its stylistic and tonal dissonance might be a product of the last chapter having once been a separate, earlier short story that was reworked into the conclusion of Dark Crusade. I don't think the whole novel is worth reading for this one chapter, but your mileage may vary. Wagner's other Kane books are simply better overall. Bloodstone is superior in every way and proves Wagner can write a tight, compelling dark fantasy novel with 3 fully developed leads. He really knocked it out of the park with that one. I'd recommend Bloodstone and Darkness Weaves for anyone looking to try out Wagner's fantasy novels or for someone interested in dark sword and sorcery stories. Dark Crusade is for Kane completionists. But what do you, the audience at home, think? How familiar are you with Wagner's stories about Kane, the mystic swordsman? Do you agree with my assessment of Dark Crusade, or am I being too harsh? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. Also check out the description for links to reviews of similar stories. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my peculiar notions. If you appreciate this channel and want to support it, you know what to do. You can also take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel of another YouTube creator you enjoy, where the algorithm will denounce them as heretics. Until next time, read some good books, live, and be well.